AI is obviously what really comes to mind right now. There's a lot going on there. I'm working on a project to create a product for streamlining healthcare compliance, specifically with onboarding vendors. I
Mhm.
know third-party risk management. You're quite familiar with that, so it's
Mhm.
similar to that.
Welcome to the Risk Never Sleeps podcast, in which we talk to the folks that are on the front lines, protecting patient safety and delivering patient care. I'm Ed Gaudet, the host, and today I am pleased to be joined by Sam Khan, healthcare attorney and board advisor for HoundDog.ai. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it. Really excited to be here and chat with you.
Yeah, welcome. Happy Thursday.
Yeah,
Um,
this week certainly flew by.
yeah. First, just terrible news today, this morning, with the plane crash and
Right,
um,
yeah, in DC, right? I did see that.
in DC last night, and it actually affected a local skating club in Boston, in the Boston area.
Oh
So,
man,
our
yeah.
our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, to the trainers, to the children, to the skaters that were affected by this terrible, horrific crash. Just awful.
Yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely. I'm sending my best their way as well.
so let's start off with telling listeners a little bit about your background, your journey into law, into healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. Into law just generally, I guess. I'm sort of the only lawyer in my immediate family. So I'm basically a black sheep. I a lot of my family, they're medical professionals, so I kind of deviated there. I suppose I married it with the health law aspect of it, trying to fit in there. But yeah, so I was interested in health law from the start. Obviously open to other areas during law school and after, but certainly there was a pretty strong interest there from the very start.
Yeah, and I imagine you've seen a number of interesting things from a legal perspective happen in healthcare. Any, like, what was sort of the strangest thing you could share with listeners that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of developments going on right now, obviously, with, in the privacy, cybersecurity realm with the recent breaches.
Hmm.
Change Health is obviously one that comes to mind over and over again.
Hmm.
And then just with the advent of AI, right, in terms of integration, I think a lot of us, in this space, a lot of other leaders I've spoken with are excited overwhelmingly, but there's certainly some caution there in terms of what adoption of AI is going to look like.
How do you think that's going to evolve? There are, like, a lot of legal questions, a lot of legal unknowns, a lot of technology and ethical questions as well. How do you think it's going to evolve over the next couple of years?
Yeah, it's a great question. There is a lot of uncertainty. Again, I've been talking to a lot of other leaders in the space, and it's really hard to say how it's going to evolve. But I think in like the innovative aspect of it is going to be welcomed, I think, gradually, as we're understanding what the landscape looks like.
Mm.
With the new administration, then again, there's more certainty there, but we're sort of expecting, sort of a broader adoption that's likely going to happen with less, regulatory hurdles that I think most are expecting with the new administration, for example. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm happy to get into them, but yeah, there's no straight answer here, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I assume you've been studying HIPAA recently, was opened up. And what have you learned so far? Have you actually prepared any comments? Are you going to send comments in? Um,
Yeah, that's great. I had a feeling you'd ask. I was going to bring it up regardless, but of course you've done your homework. Unsurprisingly, here, Ed. Yeah, no, HIPAA, for the first time, has mentioned in its proposed security rule AI regulations.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I'll certainly. I know the APA health law section is working to come up with some comments. I probably will try to contribute in some way there, as well as on behalf of some clients that I'm advising. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, right? One of the things I will mention is while they mention AI and the new proposed rules, it's not comprehensive, so it doesn't necessarily go into important aspects like AI governance, and that sort of thing, which is obviously crucial for organizations.
Yeah. And how do you think, have you thought about AI governance and how it may differ from other areas of governance? It is fairly unique in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Unique is a good way to put it. I think there are commonalities, right? Like, for example, obviously you want to include AI in your regular risk assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there will be some differences based off of specific risks, right? Or vulnerabilities that AI poses, like data poisoning or adversarial, threats of that sort, or specific privacy concerns related to AI. Again, I think with respect to governance, we're even seeing talk about AI officers, for example. So new C-suite role. It is a specialized area, and I think lots of organizations are thinking about an oversight committee, providing training to staff on AI. So all of the sort of things that you would be doing in all other respects with privacy and cybersecurity, but specific to AI, really.
Yeah, really, really good. And as you dig deep into the HIPAA rule, there's a mention of protected health information in a different way. Have you looked into that? Have you really thought through how that could affect small providers, large providers? Again, if that requirement is to hold firm throughout the rulemaking process.
Yeah. So could you be just a little bit more specific?
Yeah, sure. So there's this notion that we've got to be able to identify and track PHI everywhere.
I see. Yeah. So the new proposed security rule talks about performing a comprehensive risk assessment and articulates. So HHS basically says, we've been telling you this all along, guys, but now we're going to make it very clear, for the avoidance of any doubt. You need to have a comprehensive inventory of all your technology assets, including those related to AI, and do some mapping, right? So network mapping, map it all out. And really, I mean, that's logical, but obviously can be resource intensive. But yeah, I think in terms of the amount of investment that organizations will need to put into to this endeavor would be, I think, a pretty high, a costly one rather. But I think again, it seems like a fundamental part of the risk assessment.
And do you think that it's possible to be able to track PHI everywhere, especially as it leaves the health record and gets transferred to a patient's mobile device, right? We have this interop rule, right? No info blocking, right? So in some ways, these two concepts are in conflict.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point that you mentioned. I was talking to a colleague, and she's a partner, and dealing with HIPAA and security and all this stuff, and that's exactly what she said. So spot on. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be reconciled in some way. It certainly is not easy to track PHI within in all in all ways within an organization. But I think more or less, I mean, again, it's like mitigating risk or managing risk. It's not an all or nothing. There's no guarantee. I think the expectation is to do more, not to get it perfectly.
Yeah. Well, I think if that's clear, then it'll be manageable. I think if they leave, room for ambiguity and interpretation, that's, I think, where everyone gets into trouble, which is what we've been dealing with HIPAA for the last, 2 decades or so.
Absolutely.
Really, really great. So, as you think about, so you come from a family of physicians, you said, right?
physicians and other providers. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
right.
And so, as you think about the security leaders that are out there that have to start really dealing with the business, especially as it relates to AI, right? They can no longer work in a silo.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity now is cutting across all functions, all critical functions, all business processes in a health organization. What advice do you have for those IT or security leaders that want to build relationships with physicians or clinical leaders? Have you learned any family secrets?
I wish I could just give you like some kind of recipe or formula. That would be great. I mean, I think number one is don't be afraid, right? To approach and to start to take the initiative to form those relationships. I think it sort of starts with an understanding of the importance of building those relationships. And again, there's a lot of value, as you know, in doing that, right? So I think otherwise it's kind of like how do you really help out if you don't know what's going on with in terms of like boots on the ground. So I think every minute you spend with those physicians, talking about what the work that they're doing, directly with their patient interactions and that sort of thing is incredibly valuable.
And that's good. I mean, having that empathy for the role is really important in order to understand how to communicate. Anything else, or is that pretty much the secret?
Yeah, no, again, I think, I mean, just physicians they're humans at the end of the day, so just kind of approach them as such, right? I think we all, like IT people, they have technical backgrounds, and if they speak in their jargon, it's going to come off very esoteric. They're not going to, they can do the same thing. Physicians can do the same thing, but ultimately it's about understanding that common goal, right? And at the end of the day, you're in it for patient care. And so I think if you keep that commonality in mind, you can connect, more easily.
Yeah. Excellent. And what are your top 3 priorities over the next 24 months? What are you thinking about for you personally and professionally?
Yeah. Again, AI is obviously what really comes to mind right now. There's a lot going on there. I'm working on a project to create a product for streamlining healthcare compliance, specifically with onboarding vendors. I know third-party risk management. You're quite familiar with that, so it's similar to that. I think right now we're seeing a lot of really an increased interconnectivity of folks delivering healthcare right now. So just with more actors in the equation, I think it's necessary to consider other things that we maybe haven't been necessarily considering. So that's one project I'm excited about. Working with a couple of AI engineers to sort of automate that process. Just again, and then AI compliance. Again, I'm trying to stay ahead of that right now. There's a lot going on. People are sort of waiting around a little bit, right? Because there's this kind of one of those. It's a situation where, we know it's coming, but we don't know exactly what it is right now.
Yeah.
So again, there's this HIPAA rule that we're talking about. There's a couple of other frameworks and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a rapidly evolving, area. And so there's just a lot there. And then kind of hand to hand with that, privacy and cybersecurity as well. Those are, there's a lot going on with the NIST 2.0 framework that came on the last few months, as well as just, for example, states proposing state level privacy regulations now, right? So like we're seeing privacy in a different lens, and I think for good or for bad, I mean, I personally think it's overall a good thing, protecting people, patients, etc. It's something that everyone is becoming a stakeholder in. It's not just we're not just waiting for or delegating that to physicians or like it's other subject matter experts. It's becoming a collective endeavor, which is nice to see.
Yeah, no, I like that. What keeps you up at night?
Can I say a risk?
You just did.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Risk does in certain ways, but also on the other hand, I get very excited about where things are headed with technology, right? So sometimes I'll be up researching something about a new AI tool or things like that. I think there is so much space for innovation right now.
Yeah.
And I think again, like someone like you, I think you can appreciate the power, right, the benefit of AI and technology and how that it has such an immense potential to affect healthcare, for example, in such a big way. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's that just generally that I would say that's what keeps me up. I don't know if
I'm familiar with that
like into
technology.
specifics. I'm happy to do that.
No, that's great. No, I'm familiar with that technology rabbit hole. You blink and it's
Yeah.
5 a.m. It's like, where did the time go?
Exactly.
Outside of healthcare and the law, what are you most passionate about? What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
Yeah, I think probably like a professor. Yeah, I really enjoy teaching. I was a tutor for 2 years. In between undergrad and law school. It's something that I just enjoy, right? Because I think when you teach, you also learn a lot yourself. So and just like I think there obviously being as a lawyer, you're forced to be very practical, which is necessary. But at the same time, I find it important to not let go of thinking academically about things as well, right? Because it's easy to do that, and it's easy to sort of get lost in sort of like your day to day and servicing clients, but then not spending time on okay, well, looking at the research or doing focusing on continuous learning, for example. So
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that.
I love that. If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I think the main thing I would tell myself is things are I might you sometimes want to see things pan out the way that you have visioned them, but they don't always turn out that way. So I think I would tell myself to remain resilient, and embrace that flexibility. I think again, so while having vision is important, right? Having a plan, a career plan, whether it's 5 year, 10 year, what have you. I think having having an understanding that things might not work out exactly in that way. You'll hopefully get to that point eventually where you want to be in some way, in one way or another, but it may not look the way that you had envisioned it. That's the main thing. I think a good mentor of mine told me once to be successful, and this is overly simplified, but I do think it has merit. To be successful, you need IQ, EQ, and then resiliency. And I think that looking back, I think I likely, humbly speaking, had the first two, but resiliency, and I might have told you then that I had it, but I certainly did not. I think it comes with facing challenges and obviously overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
And that is embedded in experience. So I think yeah, certainly those are some things I would tell my 20-year-old self.
I love that. Okay. I have to ask this question. Risk Never Sleeps podcast. Sam, what is the riskiest thing you've ever done?
Yeah, this is a great question. I started thinking about what is risk. You asked this question to everyone, I think, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I've certainly.
Thanks for coming, Sam.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some amazing guests have come on with, so it's great. Again, thank you for having me. But yeah, I think risk is, to me, in a very simple way, calculated by likelihood and then the severity of the consequence, right? That's what you would look at if you're doing, for example, a risk assessment, in healthcare. So I could look at it like that, and I would probably come up with a different answer, and it's not as fun. So let's just drop that. I think for me, the riskiest thing that I've done is probably oriented my career, towards to the startup world. So early on in my career too. So I think that was risky, going in-house, being a part of organizations that are moving very quickly. Their needs are not established necessarily, but they're doing really cool stuff. And so while that's certainly the riskiest thing, it's also one of the most fun things as well.
Agree. 100%. Yeah. There's nothing like living in the world of a startup and being an entrepreneur. And yeah, I don't know any other way. So it's so funny. I end up doing this job and that's all associated with risk. I also love to play craps too. Do you play craps?
I do not. I do not. Maybe
If you love risk and you love startups, you have to learn how to play craps because it's the purest metaphor. Craps is the purest metaphor for the startup.
I will do my best to create an interest there, and maybe we can play the other one of these days.
It's actually not that hard. There's a book called Against the Gods, which is probably the finest book on risk I've read, and Peter Bernstein, I believe, wrote it. And I read it a long time ago, but it basically takes you the history of risk. And it's a really great book, but it ties early humans associated risk with throwing bones, which became basically the first generation of dice. And so
interesting.
Yeah, it's really probability and risk all grew out of that. So okay, this is where we get to know you a little better, although I think I get to know you already, but you're on a desert island. You're a little younger, so hopefully you'll understand when I say this. You can take 5 albums with you, vinyl records. You could take CDs too, but most kids, well, you're not a kid, but most kids don't know what a CD or an album is. What would it be? What would they be?
Yeah, that's funny. I appreciate you improvising on that. I think the question is usually, what is it? Is it records or?
yeah, what's a record?
There you go, adapting, right? Yeah, no, that's good. I think 5. Wow. Okay, so probably something with Eminem. I think like Phenomenal or one of those
Nice.
motivating Eminem songs, because I gotta survive, right? I gotta
Yeah.
fire, do all of that, and I think that's probably, if you go to my workout playlist, you'll see come across some
little Rage Against the Machine too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great one. So those are great.
Yeah.
I would say probably a bar song. It's by Shabuzi. It's
I know. I know it.
Yeah, it's a more chill song, so you gotta.
It's a great song.
Relax by the fire or something.
Yeah,
with Deserted Island.
I love it.
Marshmallows going or something.
That's right. Now you're thinking. That's right. That's good. So many people don't do that. So many people don't think about their environment and the music that they're going to bring with them.
Yeah, maybe that's like the sort of the depth of being too practical in a way. Right.
I know it's good. It's good, right? Yeah, because remember, it's all you got. 5 albums, so you gotta.
Yeah. I think like Thunder. So ACDC. I don't know.
Oh,
I think you're a big rock and roll fan, by the way, right?
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, ACDC's. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. Couple others. I might, let's just change it up a little bit. Maybe like a old school, like Lil Wayne's.
Well, all right. Okay.
Something there. Kind of switch it up.
This is going to be a very cool island. So I might want to visit.
Yeah, you're welcome whenever.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And lastly, I would say, staying kind of classic. I don't know which one, but the Beatles. I think the Beatles.
Oh, nice.
So
many great ones. You can't go wrong with the Beatles.
Exactly. I don't know.
Sgt. Pepper's, Abbey Road. I mean, Rubber Soul. I'm gonna go old school.
Yeah. Or the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's another one that would be a good.
Damn. We're dancing. We're dancing on that island.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay. All right. Hardest lesson in your career.
Yeah, hardest lesson would be at the end of the day, working in-house. Business folks really don't give a crap what you have to say unless it matters, right? So that's the lesson. Is as a lawyer, a lot of times we're taught to really focus on the legal analysis and that sort of thing. And sure, that's important, but I think ultimately, sort of understanding the business needs, the risk tolerance, right? The budgetary constraints, like all the practicalities. That's what it is. And I think that at this point in my career, I'm glad it's certainly a work in progress, but I've come around to that reality,
Nice.
right? Is getting buy-in, for example, is it doesn't matter unless you have buy-in, right? You can come up with you can identify a problem and come up with a really good solution, but if you are not able to get from point A to B, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Risk is a business decision, and a good lawyer understands that. And while they'll describe a conservative path, a less risky path, which they should also give you the the severity or impact of maybe taking a different path, maybe a more risky path, because that's what the business needs. So I love that. Last question. Advice to kids coming out of school, interested in cyber, interested in risk, interested in healthcare, interested in the law. What would you tell them?
Yeah. Go for it, right? Go for it. So for me, earlier, to tie it back, I went, I wanted to go to law school for whatever reason. It wasn't in my family. Black sheep. I did it. I'm happy with it. I love being a lawyer. But I didn't see myself in cyber or privacy. I chose health law, but privacy, there was a natural connection, as you can imagine, with healthcare and privacy and that sort of thing. And so between that and leading an organization's privacy program, I grew a pretty strong interest and just went for it. And I think you can build around it, right? Network with people. That's very, very important, right? Is to make connections, genuine connections, right? And it doesn't have to be a quid pro quo type of situation, right? One for one, tit for tat, but make connections. They go a long way. Again, and build around what you want. So if you want to go into cyber, maybe consider some certifications. Like I did pursue a couple in healthcare, like that. The CCB is a it's a board that certifies a couple of those, and there's obviously the IIAP, that's another one. So that's so I think you can become marketable, right? If you kind of orient yourself in that way. So being strategic, meeting people, and all of that stuff. There's no like magical formula, right? You just go and do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of grit, a lot of good attitude too, because you got to be able to ride the ups and downs of what they're going to throw at you, and they're going to throw out a lot at you. So, any last advice or parting things to consider, Sam?
No, I appreciate this conversation, and let's stay in touch.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam Khan, for joining the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. This is Ed Gaudet, the host. And remember, if you're on the front lines protecting patient safety and delivering patient care, stay vigilant, because risk never sleeps.